Okay, so you gotta understand that the way doctors are trained, or not trained, that if you have an operation or you break something and you have pain, that they can handle that. What they do is they give you Tylenol or ibuprofen. If that doesn't work, they give you an opiate. So it doesn't matter whether they give you morphine dilaudid, oxycodone, hydrocodone, methadone, Suboxone. You've never been on Suboxone. Fentanyl patches or heroin. They're all the same drug. They all go to the same receptors in your body and they do the same thing. Some are a little more potent, some last a little longer, but they're all essentially the same drug. So that's fine. You get your cast or you heal up and you're off of it in a week and that's the end of it, and that kind of approach works. But if the pain doesn't go away, there's no training for that. It's sort of like, well, Dilaudid worked, so I'll keep giving it, or Vicodin or whatever. And so that doesn't work though. You're kind of walking testimony to that.
Absolutely.
The more you take, the less it works, because every time you take it, the receptors in your brain and spinal cord that they activate are essentially pounded down by the medicine. So that's why people get tolerant to it. They take it, it stops working, they take more. So what's doctor training? Doctor training is, well, if it's not working, then give more. And there's no limit to how much you can give.
Right.
And so I'll see people stagger in like zombies on, 1,000 milligrams of OxyContin or something. And so,
cricket.
oh yeah. And so the problem with that is there's a lot of trouble that these medicines cause. The more you take, the less it works. Then you get desperate and you take more than you're allowed to take. Then the doctor goes, oh, you're an addict. You're not taking it the way I told you to take it. And then they stop it. Then you have to go through withdrawal. That's nasty. You ever had withdrawal?
No.
Lucky you.
But I do watch Dr. Drew, I know.
So, but the worst insult of all that doctors and patients don't know is that this stuff actually increases pain.
Oh, great.
It screws up the place in your brain that's your own pain control system, and it shuts it off. So, we can't do things as well as the way God designed your brain, whether you like God or not, as a fallen Catholic.
Fallen Catholic?
I'm kidding.
Nerd.
Okay, so
according to my parents, I am. But
think of this. I'm not sure what to do. They load you up with a bunch of meds. You get to suffer being called an addict or withdrawing or whatever, not to mention it doesn't work, but in the end it makes your pain worse. That's a problem. So how do we treat chronic pain? It's not always easy. If there's an underlying disease to treat, if there's a bad joint we can inject or cut out or fix or whatever, that's great. If there's a tumor you can cut out or do chemotherapy on or whatever, okay.
I'm on the joints to cut out though.
Yeah.
It's the other problem.
Yeah, so you've had this pain in your face that nobody's been able to figure out a source for. And so what happens is, if there's an original injury, the original tissue or nerves that cause the pain can heal, but if they've been pounding the nerves that they send their signals to long enough, those nerves get switched on. And so even if the original problem heals, the nerves in your spinal cord, brainstem, and certain parts of your brain, they don't know that, and they just keep sending their signals. And so the pain that you're left with is exactly the same pain that you had even though it's healed. So that's why if somebody goes and gets his foot blown off by an IED in Iraq, that they'll continue to tell you they feel their foot and they know it's there.
That thing.
And the reason is there's a place in the brain that remembers all these signals. And so it's a real pain, but your doctors look at you like you're a nut and say, there's nothing wrong with you. Okay? Does that make sense?
Oh, I've been.
And the sad part is we know exactly where in the brain this happens. Okay? Let me show you another picture. So this is a part of the brain that doctors don't learn about in medical school. It's a little walnut-sized area that sits on top of the brainstem where heartbeat, breathing, and blood pressure are controlled. Okay? So this part of the brain was developed before we could think. And so because of that, it's actually the most important part of the brain. If this had been working properly, Clinton wouldn't have gotten himself impeached. Okay? So this is where
I'm not sure you're supposed to cross political lines either.
Okay. That's all right.
That's great.
So this is where memory, pain memory and emotion, that pain control system I told you about, life satisfaction, motivation pathways.
Can I get a bigger piece of that?
Yeah.
Please.
The response to attack. All of this is housed here. And when pain signals
That's a walnut size.
Yeah. And so if this area is screwed up and the pain signals come into this area, you're screwed because they're sent up to the thinking parts of your brain that we all learn about in school. And a pain that some people would ignore, you go, it's ruining my life, it's 26 out of 10, I can't stand it.
I can't.
Okay? So how does this happen? Well, it actually is kind of more determined by a lot of this stuff than the actual injury. So when people have anxiety and depression and stuff like that, pain gets worse. Okay? It's because it messes up these pathways here. All right? When people are homeless, have no money, have shitty relationships, and things have gone wrong, pain gets worse. Why? Because these put out adrenaline-like stuff that messes up all these circuits here. Now, a lot of times, where did these things come from? It came from here. We're set up for it by the things we've learned from our families and the things that are done to us through the ages. Okay, so there really should be an arrow here. When I see women who have chronic pain that I can't explain, things like migraines, TMJ, irritable bowel, unexplained belly or pelvic pain, non-specific back pain with nothing to find on an exam, you have nothing to find today. You should have no reason for back pain. Then 90% of them were raped when they were little girls, ones that I see, 90%. And so they're left with issues and more issues and more issues, and it causes pain. And when people have pain and they can't do the things like do the chores to keep from getting kicked out of the shelter or hold down a job or maintain a nice relationship, you get this back and forth where all these things are made worse by each other. Okay? So when people have chronic pain, they actually lose all the things that make life worth living. Nice relationships, chocolate, sex, BMWs, you name it.
Ever.
Okay? And it all happens here. So the treatment for chronic pain now changes, because if it's not a specific joint or bone or nerve or something that we can screw around with, but it's the way your brain is processing pain signals here, then we have to change how your brain works. So when people say it's in your head, it doesn't mean you're a wacko. It means you have pain pathways that need to be retrained. And that's hard work. That's really hard work. Okay? Because it's not so simple. I don't have a pill I can just give you that'll make you better. Because you've already told me pills don't work. And I'm telling you pills make you worse. Okay? All that Xanax and Valium and shit that they give you, that destroys your memory function, and it destroys your motivation, and it puts you on the couch and makes you feel like you're disabled. Okay? So what we really need to do is we need to figure out a rational way to get you off all this stuff so we can see where your brain stands, and then we can figure out what to do. So what they proposed giving you stuff like Elavil and gabapentin, those are smart because those are alternative treatments to opiates that can rearrange some of those pathways.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, they work only some of the time, because I already told you there may not be a pill for you, and actually telling you that might do you more good than anything else, because you said you were tough and you were a fighter. We got to get your fight back. But taking Xanax and Valium when your life goes down the drain takes all the fight out of you. It turns you into a noodle. Okay? You're lucky. You know, if most people who come in what you take, they look at me like this, they go, because it screws them up. So there's hope for you.
I'm angry.
Why are you angry?
Because I want my life back.
Okay.
I mean,
so the way we get your life back is this stuff. Okay. So what we have to do is I don't think you're an addict. I haven't heard anything that tells me you're an addict. Okay. But if I scanned your brain in a functional MRI scan or a PET scan, it'll look just like an addict's brain.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's frightening.
Oh yeah, it's scary.
It is.
Okay, so it doesn't mean you rob old ladies, and that's not your issue, right? But we have to treat you
frightening.
kind of the same way. And in fact, if I told you I would like you to go to AA meetings, the reason you would go is not to say, I do drugs and alcohol. It's because you want to hear how these people who go there and are screwed up by drugs and alcohol make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And then you're going to say, holy shit, I see some of me in there. And that gives you the power to change how you do things. Because in the end, you're going to have to take charge of your life.